But going back to that question of how much time do we actually have left in terms of when will we run out of oil, we want to take a closer look at that. You know, one of the things we like to do on this podcast is, you know, very back of the envelope, get down to first principles. If we had to estimate, you know, how much oil is left, how could we go about this?
Right.
So we scoured the internet and we found scoured it,
every nook and cranny, every crevice, every old freaking blog tweet, every Reddit subreddit.
Well, maybe that's a bit much, but we didn't go that far. And there was paywalls, you know, in some cases with a lot of research you can't get past, but you know, there are ways.
You gotta pay to play, baby.
But we found some interesting estimates in a couple of research papers about what might be the total amount of fossil fuels on the planet right now.
Exactly. Period. The total period available at all, regardless of access, regardless of do we have the technology to get it, regardless of all that stuff. This is just like how much oil is there, period.
Exactly. And up on the upper limit, we found that there was about 10,000 billion metric tons of carbon was one estimate.
Yes.
And on the lower end, I believe there was around 4,000.
That's it.
Right?
4,000 billion. And our sources for those numbers came from NASA and also the University of New Hampshire. Again, we'll provide those links. You guys feel free to look it up for yourself. We always want to be open with our data analysis, where we get our data from. And again, all the previous numbers were from the U.S. International Energy Statistics provided by the Energy Information Administration, something like that. We'll have the links. It's pretty legit. It's pretty cool. Definitely recommend it. If you like to geek out with data, go play around with that stuff. So these numbers came from NASA and also the University of New Hampshire again. And it's crazy. So when we look at the total reserves period, so of 10,000 billion versus 4,000 billion metric tons, we have this next figure that we created. So this is based on the consumption that we would have had in 2017. So if we were to just keep that static, so assuming it does not increase with a linear trend, which we saw that, you know, it was doing for the last 30, 40 years. So this is a very conservative estimate, because instead of increasing that consumption, we've just held it at a constant at whatever it was into 2017, projecting into the future. So years until depletion, when we have 10,000 metric tons, and based off of the consumption from 2017, we see years until depletion about 2,000. If we have 4,000 as our estimate of the total reserves of oil in the world, again, this is the maximum amount of oil left in the world, irrespective of whether we have the technological means to access it. We would have, if we were able to access it and, you know, produce it, we would have just under 800 years, roughly, in order to just be done with it until our reserves hit zero. So 800 years and 2,000 years. What do you think about those numbers there, Elliot?
Better than 40 years. Better than 50 years.
Better than 40 and 50, right? Better than 40 and 50. These are like the upper limits, though, you guys have to consider. And these are conservative numbers because we're assuming consumption isn't going to increase. But realistically, with the growth of many third world countries, with their, you know, for example, entering the global capitalist markets, with that comes a certain level of advancement, a certain level of increase in lifestyle, which requires more energy, which a lot of companies will most countries will most easily opt to doing and providing this energy via oil. So realistically, we can expect our oil consumption to increase from 2017 and onwards. So again, these are very conservative estimates. It's 10,000 so like maximum, we have 2,000 years.
2,000 years.
2,000 years.
Just a blip on the geological time scale, but for humans, that's that's a fair bit of time.
We can continue to be, you know, greedy and get all that shit out, but again, this is not considering of any things, any, you know, environmental climate changes that might result due to our extraction and production that might, you know, interfere with us being able to get to these higher levels of extraction, because as the environment changes, as climate changes, who knows what will happen to us in 2,000 years. Who knows if we'll be around in 2,000 years. I don't know. I'm hopeful. All right. I'm not
me
all
too.
doom and gloom, right? Yeah. Yeah.
There's actually another concept, you know, not to end this on a doom and gloom, is the idea about peak oil demand. Right. There are